Hey guys, thank you again for joining us for another exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we are back with Reflection 329, and it's a brand new book. And I think this one is probably in my corner, but we'll see.
You, you,
It may be my cup of tea, but I'm
you
I'm
think
intrigued
so?
by I'm intrigued by the title. It's the book is the Grieving Brain: The Surprising Science of How We Learn from Love and Loss
Right.
by Mary Frances O'Connor. I'm always been interested in like how the brain functions and all that for a long
Yeah.
time. So maybe um, this is something up my alley. I don't know.
It's
That's what I
interesting.
say.
Okay. As you just mentioned, this book's called The Grieving Brain. It's about the science of how we learn from love and loss by Mary Frances O'Connor. So it basically is exactly that, right? This PhD um, psychologist, Mary Frances O'Connor, studies people that are going through grief and
Hmm.
the science behind it and what happens, what doesn't happen, and tries to lay it all out. Obviously, as you know, and as anybody that's been listening to any of these podcasts and or following any of this Your Magical Learning Journey, uh, this is a topic that's personal for me as I've been going through the grieving process. The past I don't even know. It doesn't ever stop, but like the whatever you call this process of, losing something incredibly important in your life and going through grief, with losing my daughter. So the reason why this book is appearing at 329 is because it took me a really long time to even want to explore these kind of topics. This was
Hmm.
this was way later into the journey of going, okay, I think I'm ready to explore these things slowly but surely over time. I started to dive a little. We just did that one that was the five imitations a few books back. About
Hmm.
the loss as well and grieving and people dying and what that looks like and yada yada yada. Right. So all this stuff for me was, I think this was a sign for me personally that I was, you know, marrying up the learning that I love to do with my daughter now with trying to understand a little bit more about what happened in our life together.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean it was an interesting journey. So I started this reflection off by the reflection title for this one is The Ultimate Learning Journey. And like, you know, quite bluntly, grief is the shittiest thing in the world. It's
Yeah, I
horrible.
don't
Like
think
there's
anyone
yeah.
can disagree with that.
I mean, it's I don't well, you know who might? Malcolm Gladwell and his desirable disadvantages.
He may say that, but I don't think deep down, I
I
don't
know.
think.
I'm kidding. But yeah, no, it just absolutely sucks. And this is I'm gonna go back to our atomic bomb analogy, right? Grief literally changes everything. So the one thing that Mary Frances O'Connor talked about, one of the concepts in this book that really um, stuck in my own mind is mental maps. So she said, like, one of the reasons why humans are able to, like, think about your own home, navigating in the dark. Can you walk around your house in the dark?
Yep.
Because you know where everything is, right?
Hmm.
Mentally. I mean, it's like in your head. You're like, oh, your spatial awareness. Like you just where things are. Like, I mean, I don't know if you're anything like me, but like, I don't need a lot of organization. Like, I don't need things to be like perfectly categorized. I just need to know where things are. Otherwise, my brain goes fucking haywire, right? Like, as long as I know where I put something and
Yeah,
where
you
it goes
have a
back to
spatial
spots.
map in
Right.
your head because your bodies, your even your like your senses, like your sense of touch,
Yeah.
meaning that there are certain things that hey, I'm getting closer to this wall, I'm getting close to this door. You can feel it in your hair and on your arm.
Right.
It's like, hey, I'm almost there, right? And you can probably walk through the house because you've been there so much that your cells in your body almost have like a memory of its own.
It is.
That hey, that's there, this is here. This is how people use that as a memory palace. So
Mhm.
you know how
That's
you talk
exactly right.
about
Yeah.
walking with
Walking
Einstein.
that.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
the first thing, the second thing. So how people
Yep.
remember the sequence of orders. Hey, well, I walk to the door on the left. I have my kitchen, and then down for the kitchen, I have another room, and blah blah blah. So you know that, and you can describe to anyone that, hey, tell me about your house, how you get
Mhm.
there. You can walk through it using
Right.
the memory in your head
Right.
without having to
Yeah,
remember.
without even having to
It's
physically walk, right? You don't even
yeah.
need to actually walk through your house. You can mentally walk through your house like easily, and
That
um,
my table is on the right, and
right.
it's glass table, and next to the glass table is a bookshelf, and next to the bookshelf is this pantry, and next to the pantry, so you know exactly everything in almost like clarity detail,
Oh yeah,
as if you're there. And so to
yeah,
me, we have this spatial map
yeah.
of our
How we
home.
navigate.
Yeah.
It's how we navigate the world. I mean, like honestly, like that's something I learned from this book was like the mental mapping that we put together, right? And then grief is like, let's say that there's a I don't know, do you have like a favorite chair you sit in or something like that, in your house? Or like I don't know, is there something that you're like is like that this is, if somebody moves it, you're gonna get pissed, you're like,
Yes.
no, what is it? Yeah, tell me.
I have a little small chair. It's almost like a kitty chair that I have to sit in, and it's
Gotcha.
right next to the couch. So that's chair. I sit there every time.
Right.
So every time it's not there, or it's moved, or something's on it, I get pissed.
That's fair. I'm the same way with my own go-to chair, and oh man, there's a few other. I'm kind of that way with clothes and where I put it in my drawer. But we'll just stick with the chair analogy, right?
Mhm.
So like with grief, that chair, I'm sure you can visualize exactly where that chair is right now,
Mhm.
what's on it, where whatever, how it feels,
You can remember the stain that's on it.
right, right, yeah, right, yeah, and you'll remember when it happened and when so keep that image in your head. Now pretend that chair is gone forever. Now just like right now it's gone. Like it's like the atomic bomb, right?
I
Blows
don't.
up. That chair never existed.
It can't be processed.
This is grief, right? Is going, that was there, this is no longer there anymore. What happened? Like,
Right. Basically,
yeah,
if I imagine that, it's really like almost like a system glitch in a way, because
it's exactly what it is.
I cannot imagine it's not there. That's not how the brain works. But
Exactly.
it's not there. But it's there.
Right.
But it's not there. Right.
Yep.
So that, to me, it's like I cannot imagine it's not there, because every time I imagine it's not there, it comes back. But then I look at it, it's not there.
Yep.
So it's like it creates this confusion inside your
It's
head.
massive confusion.
Your head is basically like a computer that is glitched, or it's like an overloaded system.
It's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, right? So like we've talked a lot about this atomic bomb, metaphor,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in Hiroshima. It's what day was it in Hiroshima? What day did that blast go off? August 6th.
August
August
6th.
6th, 1945, right? You wake
Mm-hmm.
up, you go get, I mean, I'm just gonna do my own house, right? I wake up, I go in my bathroom, take my vitamins, like I know exactly where they are. They're on the little pill thing over here. And then, I go get the dog, I let the dog out, she goes outside, she goes to the bathroom, I come back in, I grab a little mug off my
Mm-hmm.
little mug shelf, above my coffee, my Keurig. I make a cup of tea in the Keurig. Then I
Mm-hmm.
go get a little meal bar. I go upstairs into where I'm at right now. I go do my typing, let it finish all that stuff up, go back downstairs, get Luca, which is, around the corner in his area. And I'm walking my way in there. We do all this stuff, right? Do your morning routine. Then I go get them off ready for school, drop them off, come back, go on a jog, come back into the house, make some breakfast, I don't know where all the dishes are, everything. And life's good. Sit down and eat some food. And then all of a sudden, like blows up, right? And you're like, what the fuck just happened? And everything, you close your eyes and you wake up, and everything around you, your coffee mugs are all gone, your house is gone, basically. I mean, at that point in time, you walk out the door that's barely hanging on now, and you see all the trees are gone in your yard, all the road is no longer in your area, all your neighbors' houses are gone. Like you have no idea where your kids are, what happened to them, what didn't happen to them, if you're ever going to see them ever again. You're just literally staring out at this abyss, going, everything that you remembered and it was your routine and your life and where you knew everything was is fucking gone.
Yeah.
Like it,
You literally can't process it. I mean,
you can't.
I'm imagining it, but I can't process it because I'm saying, well, it's there, but now
But it's
it's
not.
not there. I have this feeling of a panic of sort. I don't know if so. I'm kind of like the system doesn't do anything because it can't function,
Yeah.
right? It can't. You ask me what do I do next? I don't know because the system not working.
You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. You
I
don't have any
cannot
idea.
I
Like,
cannot take the next
yeah,
step, right? I cannot take the next step, and I
right.
have this feeling of panic in a way because
Mhm.
it's like the system is out of whack or it's glitch and it's panicking. So imagine it's some kind of a computer, right? It's panicking. It's trying to get it back online, and it's trying to do the next thing, which is whatever its sequence is. It cannot get the next sequence. It's
The
stuck there in a way,
yeah,
and it's almost like paralyzed.
it's fucked up. I mean, it's horrible.
Even as I'm imagining this right now, I'm getting that feeling. And if you ask me what to do next, I don't know.
You're in two places at once. So I mean, I don't know if you remember the story from the book my book I Can't Imagine, or Amelia and Mai's book, I Can't Imagine. But after Amelia passed away, I don't know, I feel like it was for at least the first like almost week, and again it kind of happened on and off again in the future. But we had
Mm-hmm.
spent so much time in the NICU, and right next to her all day long, in the little purple recliner chair and at Riley Hospital for Children. Like it had become like our job, like, I mean, it was like, I know it was only 39 days, but I mean, that's enough time to settle into some habits, and especially when it's somebody that matters more to you than anything in the world, and you're going through so much. The first few days after
And
Amelia
it's
passed
harder
away,
because I think what I'm seeing is for you, it's the imprint is very deep.
very deep, very, like, I mean, this was my home, right? Like, this was,
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, wherever she is my home, like, and I don't really care where, like, you would say the same thing about your kids too. I mean, if you're like, hey, they all wanted to move to California, you're like, no, I'm gonna stay here. You're like, like, no, I mean, like, where they are is where you want to, like, I don't know, it doesn't, I don't know if that's how you feel, but like, that's how I would feel. It's like, I wouldn't want, especially when they're young still, like, I mean,
Right.
maybe when they're adults it's fine,
When
but
you have when they need you and you need them, right?
right,
This is when the imprint is so um strong
it's
that when
everything.
you have this glitch, it creates this really high level panic in your
It's a dual reality.
it's in your emotional system, and you completely, like you say, it like in a way a dual system where there's one and there isn't, and it keeps switching, and you can't control when it switch.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I remember having dreams every night after Amelia passed away, and I was back in the NICU. Literally, I mean, I thought I was in the NICU. Like,
Hmm.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I was talking. I was, I was so disoriented. It was the most disorienting experience that I think I've ever had in my life. And I've like, I don't know. I mean, apparently I talk in my sleep a lot. I don't know. I think I just dream a lot, and I just talk out loud as I'm dreaming. But like, like, my wife has made fun of me many times before where I'm like having full conversations with her, and and she's like, uh-huh, okay, right, like, like, and eventually she just, like, in like loving, joking ways, right? Well, these conversations where I literally woke up and I was like, I am in the NICU. Like, I mean, my everything, I was so disoriented. I was like, she's here, I'm here, like,
Hmm.
what's happening? When doctors talk to me, like, and she's like literally having to calm me down,
Like
and
I
like
say,
taking me out of,
you're almost inside of a panic zone.
yeah,
You
I
panicking,
was. I
and
couldn't tell where I was. I
and
had no, I didn't know where I was. I mean, I can't describe it more than that. I did not know where I physically was at.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, even for me to start imagining, I'm starting getting like this panic feeling. Uh, just I mean, just to tell you how much it will affect the person who actually have something that is real. I mean, so for us, for whatever reason, our brain cannot process that. Like
yeah,
I say, our brain cannot process the negative. Like if I ask you, hey, think of an elephant. Now think it's not an elephant. Or I say, hey, don't think of a lemon. We cannot process the negativity of it because you have to think of a lemon and then we move it, right?
Right.
But then you can't control, hey, all right, a
Right.
lemon
Yeah.
has entered my mind.
Right.
Now I
It's
can't get
gone.
rid of it.
Right. Right.
And then
Yeah, no,
sometimes gone, sometimes not. And like so we don't have full control over our mental map or when it gets I guess created and when it we don't have the I get a direct
we need
control.
the mental maps. We need mental maps
We
because
need the
that's how
mind
we
map,
guide.
but we don't have the direct control over it because like if I
Right.
ask you, hey, okay, that thing is there or that thing is there. Now can you tell my brain, meaning the elephant, the primitive brain, that it is not there? It doesn't know how to do it.
It can't compute. So this is where the title of this reflection comes in. I've come to appreciate grief in this regard. Um, it's the ultimate learning journey, and one of Amelia and my core values that when we live in for two every day is learn something new every day, and like trust me, going through a grieving process, you will learn something new every single day because it is like you're saying, you're rebuilding all of your mental maps of your
It's
mind.
it's almost like you are talking about the ultimate repair of a computer. Right? If
Yeah,
you imagine like the system glitch of a computer, this is the ultimate fix of a computer. You have to do many things to get it functional. So to say this is the ultimate learning journey, it's no joke.
yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, we wouldn't be talking today. Like, there's a reason why these books became our refuge for Amelia and I. Like because I had to reprogram, like in a lot of ways. Like I was beyond lost. Like, and I was like, I'm just gonna take a step, right? Like, and we'll figure out what we find when we take that step, today, and we'll reprogram. Like, okay, all right, this makes sense now. Like, lock on to one thing that you can hold on to in reality, and then take another step, and take another step, and find something new that you can hold on to and grip back onto, and go, oh, okay, all right, imagination's important. Okay, great. Culture is important. Okay, great. Like a beaver must dam. Don't run for trains. Like, like these things where you're rebuilding, your mind palace, your memory palace, right?
Yeah,
And you're
I mean,
rebuilding the things that are comfortable, and that gives you stability, and that gives you that feeling of I don't know, being a human, I guess. I don't know any other way to describe grief. It just wipes it all out, and it's like, go rebuild, like, or don't, but like,
you have to be built from the ground up, and
right.
I think that's a great analogy there, just because it's completely gone, completely wiped out. So either you build or you don't, but you have to build. It's not something that, hey, there is something there. It's completely gone. So all of the things that you learn is as if you're learning it for the first time.
Mhm.
It's as if you were learning to be a human again.
It is. I mean, it really is. I mean, like all these lessons that we talk about on this journey. This is why I've told you many times, like, Chris Sears before Amelia is not the same person you're talking to right now. I may look the same, I may act the same, I may talk the same, but I'm not the same person. Like, I'm not even close to the same person. Like, it's like I mean I have jokingly, say, like, I feel like I'm a 60-year-old in a 39-year-old's body at this point in time, because I'm not supposed to know this shit, right? Like, I mean, I feel like this is what happens when you get older, and you have to go rebuild your paradigms, all the time, as you lose your spouse. Like my grandmother, my dad's mother, my grandfather passed away. I feel like it's probably been like probably 12 years ago now, or something along that. It might even be a little bit longer. I can't remember, but I know that she's been like, all of his shit is still, in their house. Like, they love to go, or at least he did. I don't know if she does, but like, I one of the activities they did together all the time was garage sailing. They love to go garage sailing, almost like American Picker style, where we just want to find shit and take it back. And even if I have 7 different versions of the same, thing, but got a good score today, like while I was, well, so like this is how like my grandfather was, and like their entire attic is filled with all of like their shit, like it's just packed to the brim, and she like refuses to go up there because she's like, I just can't, I can't process this, like I don't want to deal with this stuff, like I know where everything is, and like I don't know, it's, and she tells me all the time, when I was doing my grandma diaries, conversations with her, she's like, like, I mean, she's been relearning how to be herself, because her whole life, they were married for like 50 plus years or something like that, so like everything about her life and everything about what she did, her identity, who they were, what they did or they didn't do, like who they engaged with as friends, and all these things, like where they traveled, where she was allowed to travel to, wasn't allowed to travel to, like all these fucking things, like she's like having to be a new human being, like, and it's just, and I mean, it's a lot, but you're not supposed to learn these things until you're fucking 80 years old, like, and you're not supposed to know this shit when you're 35, right? Like, you know what I mean? That's not how it's
Well,
supposed to.
that's the norm. The norm
Right,
is you don't learn about it until you're much older. But
right.
whether you're supposed to or not supposed to, that's something I don't know.
Well, fair, but
Uh,
but I think this is why old people, when we have conversations about, like, focus on your values, like they get it, like they understand. They're like, yeah, I've been through all this. I've had to rebuild all this shit. Like the only thing that I can hold on to is this stuff, like,
mhm.
and this is why I'm so cling to this shit, because I'm like, I know that this is. I've had to rebuild mental maps. I got to take something with me to be able to have a compass next time this fucking thing blows up again, because it's done it many a times now for me. And I'm fucking tired of it. So I'm just gonna do what I got to do. Like
Right.
that is where values come into play. They're like your anchor that can take you from, you know, fucking reality to reality that you don't, that just blows up, and you're like, okay, at least I got this little magic bean bag, or something like that of my values I can just pull out and go. I at least have something that I'm aware of that can go take this next step, and you'll rebuild a map that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, the thing is, you're gonna have to have some kind of an anchor. Like, I mean, I guess the movie Inception is a
Yeah,
pretty good analogy. You
Spinning
have
top. Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
focus on something that you know,
Yep.
and that's the only thing you can hold on to. It's like your safe zone, or your goalpost, or the tree that stands in the midst of the tsunami that kind of washes everything. You have to hold on to that tree.
Right.
That is something you have to have. And for me, I think and I believe that human beings supposed to know this thing without having to go through the atomic bomb, without having to go through the trials and tribulations of society, and when you become old and run out of time before you learn this shit, right? I think human beings are supposed to learn it. It's just that for whatever reason we, you know, stray away from that path of human rights.
We
To
don't
me,
talk
that's
about
a
the bad
human
shit.
right.
Yeah, it is. But we don't talk about the bad shit. We only talk about the good shit. We only talk about when somebody makes it through denting the universe, and actually maybe puts a scratch in the universe or something like that. We don't talk about all the people that tried to dent the universe and ended up fucking schizophrenic and you know killing,
And let me ask you,
like,
what in like the most unbiased perspective, how many do you think went schizo, and how many becomes something that becomes a story inside, of a magazine? What would you think the ratio would be?
97% to 3%. I mean, maybe even less, 99 to 1, like 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000. I don't, 1 out of 1 million. I don't know. Like, I mean, not a lot.
I would say one of at least 100 million, or at least more than
Sure.
that. I mean,
Right.
because how many Steve Jobs are there?
It's not. I mean, there's, I mean, I don't,
How many Mozarts are there?
I don't know. I
Right?
mean,
I
probably,
mean,
I have no idea. I mean, yeah.
but I'm saying is the odds
Van Gogh killed
are
himself, man.
99.99999 to 1,
Probably.
right?
Yep.
That is the probability. You're not
Yep.
97 to 3. That's the way you've been way too generous.
But we champion the people that you know
It's
that
a
embrace.
the survivorship bias. This is what
I
Taleb was
know.
saying. People don't understand what he's saying because they can't comprehend that concept.
Right. They can't.
The
I mean,
only guy
we're like,
I
well,
mean,
that guy made it, like, across the river, but you're like, you don't see the other 100 people that fucking died, while they were on the Oregon Trail. All you see is the one guy without the broken axle and the oxen that's across the river, but everybody else is flushed down the,
I
the
mean, the thing
Colorado
is,
River.
the enemy ran out of arrows or something.
Right,
I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
like,
it's not
okay,
a good
the
strategy
enemy
here.
say I only brought 1,000
Right.
arrow, and you send 1,001 guy, and this one guy come back.
Like, I why do we not talk about bad shit more often in our like, the lessons from this stuff? Like, I don't know. I feel like old people, when I say old people, I mean like people that have experienced stuff, like, because you could be old and not maybe have experienced this stuff too. So I mean, it's when I just think of the traditional elder, that person in your family that's experienced some grief and tragedy and heartache and loss and all this other stuff, and still survived and kept going. But like, I with that in mind, why do you think they don't talk about it as much?
I think it's more of a cultural thing because it's expectations of what you need to say, what you cannot say. Because like for today, there's a lot of politically correct terms and whatever. You can't say this,
Right.
you can't say that, right? And so you don't know what you're supposed to do, so you don't do it. You know what I mean? And to me, it's a culture thing. Just because we have been conditioned to say, hey, don't say these or don't say that, or I don't know what's gonna happen, blah blah blah. And it's just one of those things where there is uncertainty of how society will perceive you. And so I think
But why do you care if you're 80 years old how society perceives you at that point in time? Who gives a shit?
You do, because you may not care for yourself, but like I said many times, you don't live for yourself. You live for others. I mean, you live for your daughter. You live for, like, your mom comes to you, hey, Chris,
Right.
put Luca in daycare. This is what people do.
Right.
You can politely trying to persuade her and say, hey, this is, and if she's insistent on it, there's nothing you can do. You can't say,
Yeah.
I don't agree, and you slam your fist down, but you can't do that, right? So it's not like, hey, I don't care. So it's not that you don't. So you don't care what society thinks, but you do care what society thinks of the people you care about. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
Right? And
that does make sense.
so it's not like, hey, you can just say, hey, I live for myself and I can do whatever, I believe whatever you want. Your mom says it, your sister says it, her husband says it, or whatever. They cause an influence and impact on you and how much you can push. Because
Yeah.
if they say, this is the way it goes, and they're going to push you, or your wife insists on giving your kids antibiotics or whatever, it's not like you can shuffle away saying, hey, you shall not touch my son.
Sure.
So you don't live for yourself, you live for others, because you are nothing without others. It's just like, the thing is, you if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one to hear it at all in the universe, does it make a noise? So
yeah, I mean, it does.
Well, what's the definition of noise? It's not a clashing of the molecules of the air molecule. It is the perception of the clashing of the molecules. So you have to have a receiver. So without the receiver, there's no noise, because the definition of noise is the receiving of that of that action, of that clashing of the molecules together. And so, as a person, you are nothing without the people that care about you and the people you care about.
Yeah,
If
I agree with
your
that.
your life is worthless if there's no one you care about in the world. That's why people get depressed. If
Yeah, I agree.
this is why
That's why we care about grief.
meaningful relationship is
Right.
so important.
Right.
It's happening.
Yeah. This is because this is why grief exists, because when you have meaningful relationships, like if it wasn't meaningful, you wouldn't care. Like if I didn't, I don't know, if my neighbor across the street that I've never talked to, and I've lived here for 11
Then
years now,
suddenly, he's gone.
died,
Okay.
like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, stocks. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what you look like. I don't.
But if you have care for that person, you create a connection. That connection is what creates this glitch in the system whenever
It
that
is.
is
Yeah.
served, right? It's
Yeah.
not no longer there, but your brain can't process that no longer there. Just like people have phantom, that's like they have an amputee that have symptom pain in their arms when
Mhm.
they're completely chopped because they have a mental map of their appendages. And so same thing is in order for you to have this glitch, the connection has to be there. But human beings, we yearn for the connections. I don't
I
care who you are. You can be, the most introverted person. You
Yeah, I
still
agree.
want to have one or two person in your circles to tell the good news. Hey, I've done this, or I caught this fish, or whatever it
Or
is.
just to sit there with you, like
It's
Amelia never spoke a word, but I mean it was a meaningful relationship, right? Like
mhm.
it just being in the presence of somebody that you care about and deeply,
Exactly. To
like,
me, this is the thing
matters.
is you. I mean, the thing is like a lot of people who are um like lonely, like they're by themselves, they often have a companion, which is like a dog, right? And
Right.
to them, right, it makes the room and environment a completely different feeling because you
It
need
absolutely
a
does.
present because the dog can't talk to you, but
Right.
instead there's a presence of a living being that you care about and he cares about you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that connection, even from a person to a dog or a pet, it is
Or
making
or
that
or a
very
tree or the universe, or I mean you can extrapolate that to anything. Like you could see grass growing and feel a connection, like because
mhm.
animals eat it, then you eat the animals, and then you get to like I mean like there's a way to form that meaningful connection,
But
using
that's the
like your
that's the
right
thing is
brain.
human
Right.
beings, we need the connections.
We need
We
connections. Yeah, we
have
need,
to have
yes.
the connections.
I wholeheartedly agree with. Actually, I just came up with a thought as to why old people don't share this wisdom more often. I think it goes back to the idea of what would you tell your 20-year-old self, and it's like, fuck,
Okay, yeah, I think I get that. Just like I told you about the tree analogy, right?
right.
If a tree make a noise, if a tree falls down, but no one there to hear it, doesn't make a noise because when you say a story to the young one, they are
I don't
unable
know.
to receive
Right.
it.
Right.
Therefore,
It's
they
irrelevant. It's
yes,
worthless. Like you can't share this wisdom with anybody other than people that understand this already, and those people are rarefied airs usually when it comes to age wise, right? So yeah, they probably all maybe talk, I don't know, maybe old people talk about this amongst themselves, but then they're losing so many people around them all the time that it's probably hard to like, you know, keep a
yeah. I
philosophical
mean, I
dialogue
think I
going
think
on.
strawberries are great, and grapes are really tasty and delicious, and cows are really, what I mean. I'm just
Right.
talking about stuff you like has nothing to do with you. It's like, what the heck are
Right.
you talking about, right?
Right.
That basically just stops the conversation and it say, well, okay, I
You
can't.
know what it's like? It's psychedelics. Whenever you go on like a trip, right? Like, like Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind book, and
Mhm.
every time, like, it's such a connected experience using like your right brain connectivity. There is no words because words are linear, left brained,
Mhm.
like you have to you know, you have to comprehend and understand what that person's trying to relate to you, and like distilling all that. Everybody that's ever tried to tell me what their trip was like is like, it's like
Yeah, you're talking about
love, man.
going.
It's like love, man. Like it's
Yeah, I
love,
mean exactly because if you say trip, right? You say, hey, you go on this trip. I say, well, I'm going from Houston to Austin, whatever. So you and I talking about trip, but my meaning of trip and your meaning of trip is completely different. Therefore, the
Sure.
conversation cannot connect. And this is the reason why I think you make a really good point is without the person be able to relate to what you're saying, it
It's
doesn't
worthless.
give you the feedback to continue because
It's
it basically it more or less in a way cancels out that energy that you want to try to push out. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
it just get it doesn't jive with with the energy that you have.
Well, true.
Yeah.
You and I don't even want to fucking recap this whole journey to people. Like if they sat down right in front of us and said, "Hey, tell me everything that goes into Clubany," and we would go,
I can't. I don't have
"I
time to
can't
sit
tell
here
you
and
that."
tell you about
Like
Beaver Mustang, right?
right,
I rather
like,
go tell Chris Beaver Mustang. Yes, yes.
right.
You have to. We're talking about Beaver Mustang. Yes, yes. I think that is the energy that when we get together, it amplifies the energy because
Right.
you
It's
getting
meaningful.
you getting the energy reception from me, and we
Right.
receive the energy reception from you, and so that's I think this is where the energy comes from. Is so I am getting a copy of your energy, and you add it to mine, it doubles.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't subtract it from you,
No.
right? And then
No. No.
when
If
I
anything,
talk to
it
you,
enhances it for me as well because like
but
I
I'm
get to
saying
feel it.
I'm
Yeah.
saying is when I talk to you, right? I
Mhm.
have my own energy, right? Whatever this energy is, I have another energy on top of it because it matches. It matches my energy, your energy matches completely. So basically, it's like a frequency. It amplifies and it doubles it,
Right.
right? And so that's the way I'm getting extra energy from every single night I talk to you. Same
Agreed.
thing for you is that you're getting your energy and the energy from me as well. But the energy that you get from me isn't coming from me. It's just coming from me, but isn't a subtraction. It's just a copy that's sent over. So the
Agreed. But I think there's energy from teaching too. Or not teaching, sharing, sharing is I get
but I'm
energy.
saying is the energy from sharing cannot be you cannot get the energy from sharing
I get a
because
I get a relearning energy out of this too. Like I mean I've told you this many a times. I forget what I fucking wrote all the time. Like I mean I like all the time. Like I read these and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Like like I mean I legitimately it's like I'm first reading it's like I go into my own mental map and I'm like through some vortex and I'm like, oh, I remember
mm,
when I was reading this book. Oh, I remember when I was on a jog and I learned about mental maps and I was like, fuck, mental maps, I get it. Like, it's like that thing isn't there anymore. And it's like and I like, I mean, my head
so let me
goes
ask you this
back,
question that if you were to let's say today you read about these you reread this reflection, but then we don't have this conversation, would you continue to read it?
my reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I do every once in a while. Yes, I would continue to read them. But only because I would force myself to remember because I know how important this is for me to remember my own,
Right, but that's not the
stuff.
energy, right? That
No,
is
no,
your
it's
that's your
it's a more of a
willpower,
forced. Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's no
It's a
different than me
willpower, but
reading this every day. I
yeah,
don't
because
remember fucking any of these.
you're
Yeah,
reading this because you have the I guess the expectation. Say, hey, I got something to tell true.
I
That's the
want to read
energy,
this. Right.
you know. But if there were no true, there were no true or no somebody like true that you talk to, you reading this, and yes, it does jog your memory, but it requires your willpower
Oh yeah,
to do that because eventually you will stop reading it. You may
yeah.
read it once in a while, but you're not. It's not just like you go. Let's say you go and say your realtor call you back for the place that you want to open a
Mhm.
pickleball, right? Well, the thing is, if you have great news and you want to share with me, blah blah blah, right? But I'm not there no more. Then that complete energy that you had wouldn't have been there.
Yep,
So
I
the
agree.
energy of sharing is that you share it to the people who can receive it, and when they receive it, it basically
Gives you
gets
energy.
sent back to
Right,
you
right. That's
because you can
exactly
say,
it.
"Hey, you can go and tell that to tell to Blake or Snow who have no whoever I
Right,
don't know if they
right.
are, but whoever has no interest in pickleball or what you have to do, right? Let's say you tell to your upline, your boss, right? And he
Mhm.
has no interest in you. how much energy you think you can get from by sharing with him?
They wouldn't give a fucking shit about any of this stuff. Like,
So
I mean,
you wouldn't have the energy.
no,
You will not be
it's actually
excited.
it's actually negative energy, because I would feel like
It's absorb the energy. It doesn't bounce back.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Is sharing.
right.
The caveat of sharing is not just sharing. Is you have to share to the right people that can receive it.
Right.
Because if I don't understand what you're saying, Chris, like if I'm speaking, Vietnamese and you speaking English, right? There is no energy. You can tell me all these
Waste
things,
time.
but or you can tell your boss or whoever, or your
Right.
coworker, or the guy that whoever that is, basically the guy who just happened to walk down the street. Okay, I'll tell him about my great pickleball, visions of how I like to
Right.
do this, right?
Right.
What energy you get from it, right?
Nothing.
If you have a great news about that, you're gonna run out and tell the guy in the street, I want to tell you, so I get the energy. So the energy is not about the sharing; it's the sharing to the people that understands it, that can receive it,
Right. I
right?
agree.
And so I think we want to make sure that that's clear, because I realize that sharing isn't enough. They have to find the right people to share it with.
100%. I mean,
So go back to what we
even
said.
your own self isn't worth sharing to, like, 20 years ago. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
that's what we've said this so many times. We're like, even your own fucking self isn't going to listen to you. Like, why, why would my grandmother, who's almost 90 years old now, like, why would she waste her precious energy, trying to, in her last, time, who knows how much time she has left in this earth, but like hopefully a long time, but like, let's just say she lives to 120 or something. Fine, she got 30 years left of her life. Why would she want to fucking devote any of that time and energy to people that don't give a fuck about what she's saying, or
Exactly.
not,
It's
not even,
negative energy, right? Because
it's
they
negative
say,
energy. She
I
doesn't
mean,
care.
all the energy you give out, it is being absorbed or bounced in some,
Right.
neither, and then you continue have to use your willpower to exert more energy out there. It's just exhausting. And so,
It's
like, the act
horrible.
of sharing isn't enough. The act of sharing has to have somebody to receive it, and it's going to, because if you say something and I don't have an expression, I don't say I don't agree, I don't disagree, right?
Right.
You think about that scenario, and
It's
we we
talking to
we,
a
we,
wall,
we
and
can play
I could go
along.
talk.
I can play along,
I could go
right?
talk to a wall too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just cool. Thanks for I have one employee that I inherited that is kind of like that. Where I feel like he doesn't really want to engage in any of the conversations we're having, and he's
Mm.
like, and that, I mean, I don't want this to sound like negative, but, and I haven't fully, because he's still kind of new to me, but like, it's I can kind of tell, like, I haven't really broken through, and it's like, why am I wasting my time? Like, it's because if he feels like this is a waste of time with whatever everybody else that I've been with now for the past, like, year plus, with them, and we've all, we like to share, like, it's that's a part of our culture, because we care. We all want to help each other, and we all want to share, and we all want to, to grow together, right, and learn together, but you're right. Like, I can tell when it on the other end is like, I don't really want to give anymore. Like, I don't mind. I can, but, like, I don't know that I want to.
But that's the thing,
why
is
devote any time to this?
you get exhausted because you're draining the energy, because you have nothing, no feedback. It's
Right.
about the feedback, because if
That's
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
say anything, if you say something and I'm just gonna look like, I'm not moving, or I say
Yeah. Like, fuck this
yeah,
shit. Like, this is worthless. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right.
the thing is, you can tell, for example, if I go like this, yeah,
Right.
because I'm not looking at you. There's no feedback, and
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm not paying attention to you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I don't care how much energy you have. You're gonna run out of energy just because you
Oh
have
yeah.
to use willpower. And
Yep.
because if I look at you and say, yes, I agree, and I'm enthused, right? That authenticity and enthused frequency is bounced back at you. This
Mhm.
is the feedback you need to gain energy. That's just why when you and I get together, even after a long day, we're so tired. but after we talk, like we have this really high emotion and we have energy.
Yeah, I
Has to
learned again. Like, I mean, I'm glad that I learned again and I had this conversation again. Like, I mean, I forgot this fucking book. Honestly, if you asked me to rattle off out of the 320-ish books on this whole entire series or whatever, like rattle off as many books as I could possibly name, like just name the book, like let alone the lesson from it. I bet I wouldn't crack 100.
right.
You think so? You think I would? I mean, I don't know.
No,
I
no.
don't either. I mean,
For
like
me, I probably can't even crack 10.
right, right. Like, I mean, it's the only reason I mean, you're spot on with a lot of that stuff. This is an interesting conversation. This is always
Yeah, we have learned something. You know, we have learned something through our discussion, and this is why it energizes us, because you understand what I'm saying, and you actually was able to pick up a little concept and nuance and feed it back to me, and I see that concept and it makes sense. And when it makes sense, I'm expanding on it, and then it makes you also interested, and it just compounds to get better and better. But if I continue to receive and drain, it becomes gone. So this is why I really think that our, I guess the slogan or tagline of a company is meaningful work and meaningful relationship is a yin and yang of company, because if you have meaningful work, you do something really great, whatever it is. Hey, I play tennis or I do this company thing. Right. If you have no one that you can tell to the meaningful relationship, the meaningful work doesn't exist.
It's worthless. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't. You're right. Like, I mean, it's yeah, you're right. I mean,
it does not become meaningful work unless you have the relationship, have the meaningful relationship.
It is both. I mean, every single one of my employees to a T has told me, they're like, if this team that I'm on right now and you as my leader were not present, I would leave this job tomorrow. Like, and like every single one of them has told me that to a T. And I agree with them. If they all were like, I don't want to be in this role and on this team, and Chris just needs to go rebuild all this stuff. I just lost your video, but there you're back. Like I would be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I mean, it's not, because it's not worth it to me. Like, even if the CEO of the company came to me and was like, hey, Chris, you've done an amazing job with this team. I want to take you away from them, and I want you to go redo all this stuff in another area. I'd be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I like my team. Like, we can all go together if you want me to. Like, but
yeah, we got more people. But I'm like,
I mean, I don't want to go. This is like marriage. Like, you could be like, hey, True, you had a great marriage for the past 4 years. I'm gonna offer you.
I'm gonna pay you with this person who is the emotionally damaged.
You're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm in a great marriage over here. Like, I like my marriage. Like, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it does, because it doesn't matter. You're right, unless you have meaningful relationships. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Let's put a pin on this one, because I'm ready to go to bed. I'm officially gassed with my stupid fucking rucksacking. I need to go get my sleep so I can get my ruck on in the morning.
You only half month in.
I know, man. God. Well, today I didn't just do rucksack run, so I'm just an idiot. Like, this is what happens. This is who I am, and I'm okay with it. But, like, I'm doing all of my normal workouts now, in addition to running with the rucksack on this whole entire month. So I didn't just go on a 3.5 mile run this morning. I did like 200 push-ups and body weight squats and whatever in the middle of a paleo run while I was running with this with the rucksack on. Like, I mean, it's even worse, right? Like, it's like, what am I fucking doing? Like, now I'm just making like hard workouts even harder with wearing a fucking rucksack plate on the back of my body, and I'm really tired. My body hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, your body lets you know.
Yeah, the original intention of this was to go, I'm going to go on a 1 mile run. So from my house around the park, down the street, and back to my house is 1.1 miles, right? I was like, I'm going to go on a 1.1 mile run with this rucksack, drop my rucksack off at home, and go do whatever other workouts I'm going to do. That was the original idea that I had in my head. I was like, I could do a 1.1 mile rucksack run. Now, so what happened was day one, I was like, I did that first day, and I dropped it off, and I was like, okay. The next day I was like, maybe I can do like my normal circuit, and I was like, let's give it a go, and I was like, all right, fine. So I did it, and I was like, I felt okay with that. And then I was like, the next day I was like, well, what if I just did like my normal paleo run that I would do on Wednesdays anyway with this on and see how I feel then. I was like, well, I survived. I guess I can keep going. The next day I was like, well, this is my long run day. Why don't I just wear it on my long run day? Now I'm back to where I'm at now, where now I just have a fucking rucksack on my back every day, all day long when I'm doing my workout. And it's completely out of spiraling in a compound effect in I guess in a good way. I don't know, or in some way that I did not expect. Anyway, all right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow. And your question we can leave with you is how have you learned from grief in your life if you've ever experienced it? If you haven't, that's okay. That's a good thing.
All right. Well,
Thanks for joining.
That's it. See you in